So this is a pretty simply shaped tank. So we will only need its length, height and width. And of course the thickness of the walls that we will measure later once we drill a hole in it, of course. So we are measuring first the length in centimeters. It's 206. Yeah, roughly 206. So this is our width, and now it's our height, 65. The precision of the table depends on how precise you are when you are taking the measurements of the dimensions. So please, you really need to be very careful with that. So as to the installation of the sensor, we are going to install it in the center of the tank, since there will be only one sensor. The drill bit a little bit inclined, so that when I cut the part of the top of the tank, the cut part doesn't fall into the tank. Ideally, you don't want to cut it fully, because if you cut only like the first 3/4 of the thickness of the top surface, then you can easily avoid the burrs and the shavings falling into the tank. So now I can only use just the screwdriver to push it out and remove it from the tank. Yeah, like this. If you are drilling a petrol tank, then be sure not to overheat it. And of course, before installing the sensor, before actually beginning to drill the tank, be sure to remove any fuel fumes, any petrol fumes or vapors out of the tank. Before we install the sensor, we need to adjust its length to the height of the tank. Therefore, we need to measure the height of the tank, and in this case we're going to do that by putting the the measurement tape into the tank. Okay, I have just hit the button, and the height of the tank is roughly 64.3. Let's also measure the thickness of the tank's walls, 3 millimeters. So this will be the thickness of the... So to adjust the length of the tubes, we're going to cut them. And then we need to clean the cuts to remove any metal shavings, any burrs, to prevent them from falling off and getting into the space between the tubes, causing all sorts of problems. After that, we need to calibrate the sensor because we have changed the length of its tubes. So what we do is we take some insulation tape and cover the drainage holes of the sensor to prevent the fuel from escaping when we will be filling them with diesel. Or you can skip that part if you are calibrating the sensor by putting it into some kind of a recipient filled with diesel or petrol, and then you can fill the tubes without the need to cover the drainage holes. But we are going to do it like this. Yeah, we also need to insert the centrator, of course, that keeps the tubes from coming into contact with each other. So it separates them, because if they touch each other, then they will get a short circuit. You also need to sandpaper the cuts to prevent any injury from happening, because you can cut your fingers or something. Yeah. So now we need to connect to the sensor. So we need to synchronize time. Let's check the readings that the sensor gives right now. And then we go to settings. We need to set the password, but we will do that later. Usually the app requires that automatically, but we have disabled the obligatory installation of the password on this phone just to make it easier to do the tests. In general, you don't need to do that. Okay, so now we can calibrate it with fuel. Okay. So the sensor is currently filled with fuel up to the top of the tubes. So let's wait for the CNT to change into stabilize. And in general, we recommend taking a look at the third number on the end of the CNT value. If it stops changing, so the fluctuations are less than 100, then that means that the CNT is stable and you can actually set the full value. Yeah, it's pretty stable, so let's set full. And then we empty the tubes. And then we can set the empty. And we need to be patient here because we need to let all the drops of fuel escape from the tubes. Yeah, okay, let's set it. And a very important thing is that we need to remove the insulation tape, because if we put the sensor like this into the tank, there will be air trapped inside the tubes that will prevent the fuel from going up the tubes and filling them. And in this case, the sensor will be showing the level of 1 all the time, which we don't need. Before we install the sensor, we need to put the gasket between its head and the top of the tank. And before that, we need to treat it with a sealant. So this is the way our technicians do that. Okay, so then we put the gasket. And then we need to treat the area around the tank with a sealant as well. So then it's better to orient this part of the sensor towards the tracker that will be installed in the frontal part of the vehicle's cabin. So we're going to put the sensor into the tank like this. Fix it there firmly, and then we can fix it using the self-tapping screws. Okay, so we have fixed the sensor in the tank. Now we need to cover it with the protective cap, and after that we will seal it using this type of seal. Okay, so let's put the cap, and then with this, as you can see, one of the ends is actually sort of empty, and then the other one is solid. So we put the solid part facing outwards. And after that, the sensor is installed. The only thing that is left to do is to pair it with the tracker and check if the data is coming from the sensor. You set the password to protect it from any attempts to tamper with its settings, and pretty much that's it.